Hi. It's only been a couple of minutes for me. I don't know how long it's been for you, probably the next day. But welcome back. We're going to go ahead and finish out chapter 5 or chapter 3, section 5. And the last video I did talked about algebra of functions. Now we're going to talk about composition with functions. Now, typically when we think of composition, we don't necessarily think of algebra, but it's kind of sort of the same thing. And here's what you need to think of is that composition really means to put together. So let's just first start with how we write this. So you're going to see things that look like F, open circle, G of X. Now, this means composition. That means we are composing F and G together. And what it really means is that we are putting G of X into F of X. Sometimes it helps to think of this a little differently. Your textbook on page 246 has got a pretty nice set of graphics where they talk about functions as machines of mathematics. And let me just walk you through this, and you'll have to forgive me, my machines aren't anywhere near as nice as the ones in the text, but let's suppose we've got, so I've said before that functions are like the machinery of mathematics. Okay. This one I'm going to call G. Now, no matter what I put into G, I get out G of that thing. So let's say I put in X. I get out G of X. Let's say I put in 3. I get out G of 3. Let's say I put in a box. I get out G of that box. Let's say I put in squiggle D. I'm going to get out G of squiggle D. Now let's just take this one step further and talk about what we actually mean here. Let's suppose that I've defined G to be x squared minus 2x. So G of x then is x squared minus 2x. G of 3 is 3 squared minus 2 times 3, or in this case we can get a number. It would be 9 minus 6 is 3. Square, G of square would be whatever is inside the box squared minus 2 times whatever that box is. G of squiggle D is going to be squiggle D squared minus 2 times squiggle D. You get the idea. Whatever is inside the parentheses, I take it and I square it, and then I add 2 times that number because that's what I said G does. Okay? Now, suppose I've got another machine. That's labeled F. And whatever I put into F, I get out F of that thing. So if I put in X, I get out F of X. If I put in 3, I get out F of 3. If I put in a square, I get out F of that square. If I put in squiggle D, you get the idea. I get out F of squiggle D. Yeah? Okay, let's suppose that I've said that f of x, I want to use a different color. So far we haven't done anything new. Say that f of x is just, we'll go simple, x plus 5. Well, then f of x is x plus 5. F of 3 is 3 plus 5, or in this case, 8. F of the box is going to be that box plus 5. F of squiggle d will be squiggle d plus 5. Now, but what about what I said up here? I said f of g of x. Well, what composition does is it takes the output from g and feeds it into f. So f of g of x, that's the same thing as f open circle g of x. And that will just be, in this case, g of x plus 5. We already did that in a previous section. G of x is x squared minus 2x. And then we add the 5 from f. So let's take that apart a little bit more. So the two functions I want to work with are f of x, defined to be x plus 5, and g of x, defined to be x squared minus 2x. And I'm going to compose those together. Read this as f of g of x. What that means is we're going to take f and plug in g. Now, f of x says take whatever's inside the parentheses and add 5 to it. Okay, well, what's inside my parentheses is g of x. Right? So I took whatever was inside my parentheses and I added 5 to it. But I know that g of x is x squared minus 2x. So this is really going to be x squared minus 2x, because that's what g is, plus 5. Now I combine like terms. X squared minus 2x plus 5. Okay? Now, we got to be a little careful of order, because f of g is not necessarily the same thing as g of f. So what I did was I just put the g first. This is g of f of x, which means that the g now goes on the outside. Now let's look at what g says. G says take whatever's in the parentheses, square it, and then subtract 2 times that thing that's in the parentheses. So the other way we can look at this is we can think of this as g of whatever f is, which is, in this case, x plus 5, which means now that we take whatever's in our parentheses, we square it, and then we subtract 2 times whatever that thing is. And now we simplify. So this is x squared plus 10x plus 25 minus 2x minus 10, or x squared plus 8x plus 15. Not the same thing as f of g.
Do you have any idea what ST208 is?
Yeah, it's in Science and Tech Building.
Okay. You know where that's at?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know the main floor?
Yeah.
You go in on the first floor.
Okay.
About halfway down that hallway, there's a set of steps that goes off to the.
Right.
It's down in there.
Okay, perfect.
Not all the way to the basement, but that kind of halfway floor.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Yep. Okay, I'll try to edit that out, but no promises. That is the basics of composition. Pay attention to the order. The first function goes on the outside, the second function goes on the inside. And if you have any troubles with homework, be sure and let me know.